Welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast, episode number 358.
Welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast. Learn jazz piano without all the guesswork. Now, your host, Brendan Lowe.
Welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast, where we have one mission, that is to help you achieve jazz piano freedom so that you can express your true inner soul and emotions instead of having to copy what others have shown you. Now, we do this by providing structured and organized jazz piano education on specific jazz piano tools that you can then take and use over any tune so that you have complete jazz piano freedom.
All right, welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast, episode number 358. My name is Brendan Lowe, creator and founder of Jazz Piano School. Thank you so much for being here. It is the new year. If you listened to the last podcast, I talked all about that, what's happening for the new year, and I'm very excited. Very excited for a bunch of different things. I'm going to tell you that in a second. Before I get into that, I'm going to start to be a little bit more consistent with how you can gain more information from Jazz Piano School, how you can benefit from all of the free content that I release on Jazz Piano School. Because a lot of times I get students and followers and audience members, they say, oh, where can I find this? Where can I find that? So I want everyone to know exactly what's going on, all right? And so I'll probably say this, I'm going to give kind of a rundown here, but I will say this in a little bit more quicker fashion in the upcoming lessons. I'm going to pull my keys out of my pocket. I don't know why they're in there. All right. I mean, I do know why, and I just dropped some batteries. All right. So here we go. JazzPianoSchool.com is the platform for all of the education that we release. So all the education that I release and I teach, meaning podcasts, tune of the months, transcriptions, blogs, ebooks. Go there. That's essentially your hub. That's essentially your hub to get all this free information and content. Cruise around the website, learn a bunch. There is just like a wealth of knowledge at jazzpianoschool.com. You could literally spend your entire life there, like years, learning for free. Just all the information that I've put out there to help you learn jazz piano. I mean, there's so much information. So start there. And again, for podcasts, there's a podcast page. You can always listen to the podcast. And on the podcast page, when you click into the podcast, you can view the video lesson that goes with the podcast. Now, it wasn't until later in my podcasting journey that I started to attach video lessons to that. So if you're starting from the very, very beginning, which was over a decade ago, right? You're going to hear things, offers and stuff that is no longer applicable to 2025, right? That was a long time ago. I wasn't even doing video, so a lot has changed in Jazz Piano School since I started that. I had no products, I had no courses, I had no membership. Man, this was just like my brand new baby, right? Here we are 10 years later. So, jazzpianoschool.com, okay? The other main platform that I take advantage of, my team and I take advantage of, is YouTube. All of the video lessons and particularly, specifically, my live streams that I do are really, really awesome. And they're really fun. And you can interact live with me. You can practice live with me. You can ask me questions. This is all for free. So if you are studying jazz piano right now and you want to literally interact with me, ask me questions, go to youtube.com, subscribe to Jazz Piano School. So youtube.com/Jazz Piano School, subscribe to the channel. And you'll get alerted about live streams. You can view the live streams. You can view all the content we publish on there, all the podcasts. These are all lessons. And there's just so much information on there as well. And the other way to stay informed of everything that we're doing, because there's so much happening, course releases, all the content, different types of content, different ebooks, just everything Jazz Piano School related educationally. Go to jazzpianoschool.com/email list, jazzpianoschool.com/email list to get on the email list to stay up to date with everything that's happening in Jazz Piano School. And it's so much more than just the membership and courses. Like, this is the email list to stay up to date with so much stuff. Like, I'm going to be releasing an album this year, and so if you want to check that out and get exclusive access to that, you can get on the email list. Obviously, you'll be able to stream that on all the platforms if you want to get all the content we release. So the email list is really the best way. And these days, make sure that if it does go to your spam folder, or you don't want it to go to your spam folder in the future, just make sure you whitelist the email address. It'll be coming from BrendanLowe@jazzpianoschool.com. And that's really the best way to stay up to date with all the information. I highly recommend the email list. I send out all the notifications about the live streams, the podcasts, when we're going to release that, all the teaching that we do, so much free content. And of course, when we have special releases, promotions, and my live programs, if you are interested in taking a step further to study with myself or my team, we have live teaching programs, courses, and a membership available, which can be accessed at jazzpianoschool.com and through the email list. Like, that's really the best way to hear directly from me. I write all the emails personally. It's not like a robot. It's not some sort of copywriter. I am literally writing all the emails and informing you personally about everything that's happening. So that's really going to be the best way to stay up to date. And again, for the live streams, we publish the live streams on the podcast. So I publish the live streams on the podcast because, again, a lot of people miss them. A lot of people can't show up live and they want the replay. And it is hard to kind of find the live streams on YouTube slightly. We're going to work to do a better job organizing all that information in 2025 and really upgrade the YouTube channel a lot. But we do republish the live streams on the podcast. You can listen to them. And I've also upgraded my Mac Mini, my home station, is the one I was using before. If you've watched any of the replays of the live streams, the quality of the image is absolutely horrendous. And I do apologize. I apologize for that. I don't like things to be of poor quality. I always strive and I continuously work. I mean, we're a small business. We're not like some of the other major jazz piano education websites, that have funding and venture, investors into the business. It's just me. I started this 10 years ago. I have a very, very small team of helpers, and when I say team, I mean less than 5 people. So it's and these are, just people that help me out. But I'm doing the majority of the work. So I appreciate everyone's patience. This is my passion. This is my hobby to help you. And I work really, really, really hard day in, day out to deliver and making as many improvements as possible as the times change, right? And it's hard. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to invest in a new computer these days, over $1,000 to upgrade your equipment. But I did take that plunge, and here we are. So if you were on the most recent solo piano live stream for the planning, what you're going to hear today, I changed topics. But anyway, if you were on the most recent live stream, the quality of that should have been much better. I'm going to continue to upgrade all the quality live streams and YouTube channels so that you can really take full advantage of that. And it's such a underused area of jazz piano school that is completely free. I mean, you literally get to interact with me as the educator live on YouTube. You can ask me questions. You can follow along. And my live streams and my YouTube views, they're not what's the right, they're not at the level of some other YouTubers. And I'm not saying necessarily I strive to be an influencer, but my goal is to reach people. I would like to reach more people. I would like more views on my video because I want to help, and if you guys have any feedback on that, a lot of the videos out there and stuff like that, I think it kind of, to be transparent, it irks me because, there's clickbait, and it's if I deliver education, that is, I don't think it's all about the education. Obviously, it's about the editing, the production of the video, how good a quality it is. So I'm really working hard on that, but I can't really, it's hard if I deliver just a couple snippets of licks or chords and things like that. I feel like that's doing a disservice to you, honestly. That's not really helping you. It really goes against my philosophy. So I've really drawn a line in the sand for a long, long time with Instagram, with marketing, with YouTube, because the stuff that really attracts viewers is not quality education to me. It's more or less show off stuff. It's more or less entertainment. It's not education. It's just entertainment because it's not really teaching you how to do anything. It's just If I played for you and was like, here, check this out, and then like I played a super cool thing that you would never be able to do, that's going to attract more followers than me being like, okay, this is exactly how I do it. I'm going to play this chord and we need to practice. No one wants to learn or see the hard stuff, right? It's like we don't want to look at that. We don't want to think about it. We want to be able to dream and like sit in this cozy, comfortable space, on our crafts or the things we're working at life and like see that stuff and be like, oh my God, that's so awesome. Like I want to be able to do that. But when reality hits us, like when the work starts and we realize we have to practice whatever it is that they were trying to show you every single day, and like we don't really know how to practice it. I mean, that's a hard truth to face, right? And I like facing the hard truths. I like putting that out there first. I don't want to like create a cover up or some facade, that's just like, hey, you can do this real fast. You really can't. And if I present you with like simple steps up front, that's going to be your most successful opportunity to make progress. Anyway, I'm just speaking from my heart right now and my feelings of my everyday entrepreneur life to you, honestly, giving you a little insight into my mind. I struggle with this. I go back and forth on this because, again, it is kind of a balance between drawing in viewers and attention. I truly believe my quality of education is amazing. I get a lot of amazing response. But it can be, long-winded has a negative connotation, but people need in-depth information or simple, slow, boring steps, right? We need simple, slow, boring steps to really make progress. And unfortunately, on this day and age, with information on YouTube and stuff like that, it's really really difficult to sit at your computer and like watch a video for 30 minutes to learn something. I mean, think about how fast, we're scrolling, we're absorbing information, we're on to the next thing. Like you literally have like under 5 seconds to catch the attention of someone. And for me to deliver 30 minutes of education where someone's dedicated in their busy lives with, sometimes people have children, they have jobs, they have other things going on. It's nearly impossible, right? It's nearly impossible. So I would say if you're retired or you are kind of financially successful, you're not working that much, or you are very, very dedicated to your craft, that you kind of fall into these categories here, then you carve out the time. I see students carve out the time to literally sit down. And obviously, if you resonate with me, you resonate with what I'm saying, and my dream and my philosophies for jazz piano education for you, then you take the next step and you join the membership. Maybe you join, maybe buy a course, to hold on forever, or you join one of my live programs so you can actually study with myself and my team and really make really fast progress. I know a lot of high school students are preparing for auditions. They come to me for help. Retired folks, they come to me because they've always wanted to learn just a lot of different areas. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is I'm going to be really working hard to make a lot of upgrades in the website, in the YouTube channel. We're going to be on Instagram much more actively to really try to spread quality education. That's always been my vision, to spread quality step-by-step education without fluff. A lot of the videos that are on YouTube are just fluff. They don't really get down to the nitty-gritty inner workings of what you need to do to have success, what you need to do to make progress towards your goal. Now, speaking of that, that's exactly what these live streams in the beginning of the year have been about. We are on to comping number 1. So this is going to be all on comping and why comping so important. Now, so many of you may have not even clicked on, well, you're listening to this, you definitely did click on it, but it's so funny because you may see comping, you're like, oh, I don't need comping. When in actuality, a lot of the comping steps in this you need in solo piano, which is so funny. I mean, so titles matter, so much of this stuff matters, and students tend to really overlook or skip different types of things, right, so fast because of the way that internet is structured. But in slow swing and medium fast, right, we have to comp for ourselves in our solo piano performance. We have to. Like, that's how you create a slow swing or medium to fast solo piano performance in the space It's one of the major factors you have to get good at is comping for yourself. And guess what? The comping you're going to learn today, the zones, right, is exactly what you need to use for your solo piano. So if your goal is solo piano, you have to learn the steps in this video. And I go over exactly what you need and what you don't need, right? And more importantly, the stuff you don't need, right? I see so many students spending hours and hours and hours practicing stuff, that they don't need, years upon years, and they wonder why they're not getting to their goal, right? And a lot of times it's because they're the dragon chasing the pearl, right? You're chasing that pearl constantly because you're desiring a certain outcome, but your path that you're taking to get to that outcome is the completely wrong path. And again, what this whole playing series is about, what I've been really digging into is trying to focus on the stuff you don't need and really explaining the tool sets and stuff you don't need to practice, because it will be sucking up your time. It'll be really consuming your time, and this is going to allow you to make more progress towards that goal that you want to achieve. And by the way, speaking of this, you can go get the 2025 guide. Updated guide based on all my philosophies, based on my new brand new 3-course bundle called the Proficient Jazz Pianist. Part 1 is out. If you would like to buy that, there is a holiday sale happening now. Until next week, go to jazzpianoschool.com/holiday. Again, when I say these links, everyone, you have to type in https:// I believe, in your browser. I don't think it will just automatically redirect, but I could be wrong. I'm not the best tech person, but you might be able to type in jazzpianoschool.com/holiday, or you might have to type in https://jazzpianoschool.com/email list, or whatever link you're going to, right? So if you want the 2025 guide, again, jazzpianoschool.com/2025 guide, that will bring you to the guide that you can download, and it's so helpful. I mean, I've been getting amazing feedback on this from the students that I've been working on this with. And this is going to help plan out your 2025 year by quarter and by step. And I list all the steps you're going to need to work on for your goals, whether it's comping, if you're playing in a band consistently, maybe in high school, maybe at a music studio, maybe play, right? Or you want to play in musicians, you have a small group, you're going to need that comping for sure. If you're wanting to play solo piano, all right, whether it's ballad, slow swing, or medium fast, you're going to need certain steps, right? In the ballad, slow swing, and medium fast. One of those steps is comping, right? The other steps have, things to do with whatever style it is. And then finally, improvisation. And obviously, everyone wants to learn improvisation, but it really depends how you want to learn your improvisation. Do you want to learn improvisation in a solo piano style, or do you want to learn improvisation in a group style? That's the first question you have to ask, because that's going to filter out so much information. And you'd be surprised, like the amount of times I see students focusing on solo piano improv or vice versa, group improv, when their goal is actually solo piano improv, and they're learning all these types of voicings or different types of movements. I'm just like, this is not applicable to your goal. Like that, you do not need that stuff. Right? And I'm just like, where did you get that from? And they're like, well, I went on a YouTube and some guy was improvising. Like, I'm just like, oh my goodness. It's just like, it's so much wasted time that could be spent on the right things that you could have learned and gotten to your goal like years ago. But anyway, let's not like wait in the past, right? Let's move forward. Let's correct these issues. And I love problem solving. Okay. So that's the guide. Go download that guide for sure. You're going to want that. Okay. And again, this is going to be the comping session. We're going to release the solo piano session very, very shortly. And then we'll release the improv session, the live stream I haven't even done yet, right? So if you want to join the live stream, I should have the date off the top of my head. Unfortunately, I don't. I'll release that on the solo piano podcast, but I'll give you the date. But again, to find out the date, go to jazzpianoschool.com/email list, join the email list, subscribe to the YouTube channel, all the things. Just join the world of Jazz Piano School, right? Because you're going to get so much information, and it's amazing. Now, my information's always focused in on jazz piano. I mean, I'm focused in on the inner workings, the systems, like the no BS, like fluff stuff, right? And I really am focused on the structure and the chemistry, essentially, if I may, on giving you the tools that you need to make progress. Now, this isn't like, my teaching style is so different, right? And for a lot of the followers out there, you know this already. You may be listening to me like, okay, yeah, I know the way you teach, Brendan. But for a lot of you listening right now, you may be new. It's not about really, like, oh, Bobby Timmons did this, or like Herbie said this, or like Herbie used this voicing on this thing, this on one finger snap or something like that, or Chick was playing this over that stuff. That stuff is great. Do not get me wrong, right? But I am all about efficiency. I'm all about the 80-20. That stuff that you're learning or listening to or diving into, or like Herbie's Masterclass on masterclass.com, right? I have that's fantastic. I believe in all types of education, but I just want to let you know, right? That is the 1%, maybe 5%, but probably less, 2%, 1% to 2% of education that you need to move the needle forward. Meaning, like, if you put a quarter right into a slot, like it would like move you a teeny bit, or like if you invested in that thing, it would move you like 1%. Again, that type of information, because it's just the cherry on top. It's the spices. Like, everyone's attracted to the cherries on top, the spices. It's really hard as a student. I went through this, right? To really go after the meat and potatoes, the hard stuff that we don't want to face. And when we can face that and really accept like the spices and the cherry on top, those are fun. It's like the ice cream effect. You get it, you learn it, and it's like, okay, it's gone. But it doesn't move the needle. It doesn't move you 80% of the way. It really moves you. It's like 99-1. It moves you 1% of the way. And this is why students are so like lost. After years and years of learning, they're like, well, I've bought in Herbie's Masterclass, I've joined this membership, and I'm learning all this stuff, but I really don't feel like I can play at all. I was that person. I said that all the time, right? Sorry, I get really fired up about this, right? And that's why I still do this to this day. I still love it, and my mission hasn't changed. Like, I will show up day in, day out, week after week, year after year to continue to do this and speak my philosophies on jazz piano education, because it happened to me. It happened to me, right? I went through this and it was painful. It was one of the most frustrating things in my entire life, right? I wanted to give up. I quit many times and just came back to the chopping block. I was like, no, okay. I quit. I was like, I'm done. I was like, all right, I can't give up on this. And then I'd go through the same thing. And then I'd be like, what is this? I'm not learning anything. I'm just like being shown things. I'm just being told to do things, but no one's actually teaching me, right? It's a really weird thing. Jazz is a really weird world. It's a weird world with lots of weird types of language, vibes, things that are thrown around out there, assumptions about players. It's just like, I was like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to teach my own way. And I'm going to take my experiences that I went through, and I'm going to make sure that if students resonate with the way that I'm talking right now or teaching, right? I want to put the bat signal out and be like, hey, if you want this, if you want what I'm giving out, I'm here for you, right? I'm here for you. And that's what Jazz Piano School is about. So anyway, take a breath after that, huh? I'm excited for my album to come out this year. I have 2 songs written. I've been contemplating different ideas. By the way, go to youtube.com if you don't want to hear me talk about all this stuff. I kind of just run my mouth for a while, come to talk about whatever's on my head. But I've been thinking about doing my album as just kind of like a live studio album with an audience there. I don't really need the polished stuff, I don't know. It's just like, I love playing live. I love I love raw stuff. I love being moved in my heart, my soul by raw performances that are live. Unedited. And I think there's a magic to recording a moment that's like untouched, right? That was just it's a representation of that moment in time that's untouched, unedited. Like, maybe you do a little bit of mixing, right? You'll throw a little bit of reverb on there or something like that, but like not like splicing solos or like taking takes, I'll probably do that down the road. I don't know. I'm kind of dabbling with a couple of ideas, so we'll see what happens in 2025. Come see my shows. I'll have an email list for my own personal shows coming out, my gigs, things like that. How you can follow that if you are on the California coast, in different areas. So that's always fun. I'll drop the email list shortly for that, where you can kind of hear about my shows, not Jazz Piano School. I'll probably also send that out to Jazz Piano School. But anyway, let's get into comping now. Don't forget to go to all the links that I sent you, youtube.com/Jazz Piano School, jazzpianoschool.com/email list, jazzpianoschool.com/2025 guide. A lot of links for you, and jazzpianoschool.com/holiday. Huge discounts on all the courses, lifetime memberships to Jazz Piano School, and even I have spots in my mastermind open right now. You can go check those out by going to jazzpianoschool.com/holiday. That'll end next week. So the 24th, I believe, is when that's going to end, Friday the 24th. Okay, so you have about a week and a half, and then those discounts are going to close out. I think that's it. Let's dive in. Here we go. All right, cool, awesome. I thought we were having some technical difficulties, but we are streaming, we are live. We don't even need a new link. So here we go. My name is Brendan Lowe. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is going to be part 2 of my 2025 planning session. I'm going to open the chat here real quick, get that going, and then we're going to dive right in. If you haven't done so, you want to go to the link that I've posted in the chat to get the 2025 guidebook, because that's exactly what I'm going to be covering in this session here. So you definitely want to do that. You want to go get the guidebook, and everything that I'm teaching you today will be coming from that. Now, if you don't see that I'll repost the link here. Well, actually, I don't have to. It's just at the very top. So you guys can all scroll to the top and get that. Hope you're all doing well. Hey, Alan. Mr. Mason Gray, Susanna, awesome. John. John's coming for some extra sessions from the mastermind. That's great, John. Perfect. This will be very helpful when you move on from ballads. So go get the guidebook. This is going to be really helpful for you all to focus on. If you haven't checked out the intro session, you're going to want to do that, because I explain how to use the guide, why it's so important. The number one issue really affecting students today is the lack of focus and direction in the tool sets that they're learning. So a lot of times, the internet these days, the amount of information that we get from membership websites, YouTube, it's really distracting. Not only is it distracting, but there's so much information as a student, we really do not know what to work on in the moment to get us to our goal, right? So what I mean by that is, most of the time, you right now are probably working on 90% of things you do not need to practice. So essentially, you're wasting a lot of time practicing things that have no relation to the goal you're trying to achieve. And you can achieve your goals much faster by working on small, bite-sized components in a simple way to really get to your goal much faster than you probably are doing. That's what this whole planning session is about, to give you the tools and walk you through that. So I'm going to be walking you through the guidebook. Today's going to be comping. Goal number 1, comping. Now, don't get that confused. Don't be like, oh, I don't want to learn comping. Comping is used in solo piano. When I play solo piano, the exact things I'm going to be teaching you today about comping, I use in solo piano. I'm going to give you some demonstrations on how to use that in your solo piano. But again, you definitely need all the comping skill sets I'm going to teach you. Okay? I'm going to pull up my guide here before I go to the piano. I filmed a lot of lesson videos today for people that know my live programs. So my voice is probably not at its peak. By the way, my New Year's sale is still going on. You can go to jazzpianoschool.com/holiday to upgrade your account if you're a monthly member to Lifetime Elite. If you want to join my mastermind, there's some spots open. If you want to pick up the Proficient Jazz Pianist, that's available now too. The new solo piano part 2 is going to be coming out very soon in the next month, and a lot going on, right? A lot of ways I can help you. If you're cool with the free content, that's good for me too. I just want to help as much as possible. So we're going to talk about voicings and comping today. I'm going to jump to the piano right now. And in your guidebook, I want you to pull up the planning page, which is page number 3, planning. Okay, because I'm going to be going over zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4. So let's talk about this, okay? Let's talk about voicings. So many of us go online to YouTube because we want to learn voicings like this. We want to learn voicings like this. Right? We want to learn voicings like this. We want to learn voicings like this. Stuff like this. Okay. A lot of voicings, a lot of things to learn. Am I right? You probably want all of it. Okay? I don't blame you. But we need to really look at our voicings. What voicings are serving our goal? What voicings are serving our goal? Because we could spend an eternity learning all of this, right? But I promise you, it's so much easier to move towards the goal with the correct tool or specific set of information you need to accomplish your goal. I'll say that one more time. You can make so much more progress. You can build so much more momentum, and you can have so much more fulfillment and happiness because you're achieving your goals more quickly in jazz piano, right? By learning small bite-sized tools that you need for that goal, rather than trying to just learn all the voicings or learn everything I just played, right? You definitely don't need everything I just played for lots and lots of goals. Okay, does that make sense? If you guys have questions, please put them in the chat as I'm teaching. I will get into the planning session first, but this definitely a little bit of an overview of what we need. So let's talk about the goal of comping in a specific type of way. So if I'm comping in a band with a bass player and drummer, okay, one of the easiest voicings to learn and use is our rootless voicings. Now, right off the bat, probably a lot of you know your rootless voicings very, very well, right? So if I wanted to comp through a tune, let's just say a 2-5-1 in the key of F, and all I want to do was comp, I can do that very easily in zone 1, which is going to be my right hand rootless voicings, left hand bass notes. Right, so here it is. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll put a 6 in there. Altered. 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. Very easy. I mean, you could learn your rootless voicings and go play in a band today, just by using that methodology right now. I'm going to see if I can open my iReal Pro here. By the way, since I am at the piano, I realize that a lot of students on the YouTube video would cut to the piano. They don't see the whole intro video. But if you need the guidebook, go to https://jazzpianoschool.com. When I say jazzpianoschool.com, I was automatically assuming users would type that in, but you need to type in that beginning part, https, right, /jazzpianoschool.com/2025 guide to get the guidebook. Also go to jazzpianoschool.com/holiday for big discounts on any of my courses or live programs. Now, let's say I want to play Our Love Is Here to Stay. Okay, you guys still with me? I get a little nervous when no one's talking in the chat. But let's pull this up here. Where are we at right now? Okay, cool. I'm going to pull up iReal Pro.
I'm going to put it here. And if you want to go play in a band today, I'm going to demonstrate the same thing I just did. Okay, with this tune, Our Love Is Here to Stay. Great tune, right? I'm going to be comping in zone number 1. So zone number 1 is what you see on the guidebook, right? It's what you're seeing on the guidebook. And essentially, it's right hand rootless voicings, left hand bass notes, okay? So I'm going to play iRoll Pro in comp with this. So let's say you had an instrumentalist or vocalist. I know you're not all here for that. I know your passions and desires may not cover this. I will get to the other stuff real quick. But here we go. So here's Our Love Is Here to Stay with iRoll Pro. Okay, so essentially, all I'm doing right now is comping with right-hand rootless voicings and left-hand bass notes. Okay, now if your goal was to go play in a band and wanted to play with other musicians and you just purely wanted to comp, you could accomplish this goal probably within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And so many students spend so much time trying to learn so many different voicings, so many different approaches, two-hand voicings, drop twos. Like, you just don't need that. Just go step by step and learn what you need, right? So zone number 1 of my comping system essentially is just right-hand rootless voicings, left-hand bass notes. So if you have a goal of going to play with a band, that's all you need. That is all you need. I'll say it one more time. That's all you need. Any questions on that? If you have questions, put them in the chat. All right. If you understand what I'm saying, go just write in cool. Yes, I get it. Right. I just like to see the chat from people. Make sure you guys are you're all with me. It's hard when I'm not on Zoom. I can't see people. Right. I just see a blank chat. So I really appreciate any chat going on. Say cool. Yeah. Sounds great, Brendan. Anything like that is good for me. So with that being said, let's say you're playing solo piano, right? Let's say you're playing a tune like Just Friends. Okay. I'll pull that up. Actually, we don't really need the chart for that because let's say you're playing solo piano. I'm going to close iRoll Pro. Thanks, Fred. I appreciate that. Got it. Fred said, got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sometimes I don't even know if my stream's working. I don't see, people talking. All right. So if I go to play Just Friends, I need that same exact comping strategy that I just taught you in my solo piano performance, not for my ballads, but for my slow swing and my medium to fast. Now on the guidebook, you'll see those styles. Style B is slow swing. Style C is medium and fast swing. So I need comping zone 1 and zone 2. I haven't gone over zone 2, but I need zone 1 to accomplish my solo piano, slow swing, and medium and fast swing tunes, style B and style C. I'm going to show you how this works. So in the tune Just Friends, it's the perfect example. Okay, there's a huge gap right after the melody. What I'm going to do is take my right hand and jump down and comp for myself. I'm no longer comping for an instrumentalist. I'm comping for myself. So when I comp now, using the comping from comping zone 1, it's for myself playing the melody. So it would sound like this. 1, 2, 3. Comp, comp. Comp, comp. Comp, comp. Right? Same thing in Autumn Leaves. If I go to play Autumn Leaves. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing the melody and then jumping down to comp. So anyone who says, oh, I don't need the comping section, I just want to learn solo piano, you are not going about it the right way. And I've seen a lot of people who have gone through the proficient jazz pianist saying they see the first goal up there comping, they're like, oh, I don't need to learn how to comp.
Well, yes, you do. If you do want to play the styles B and C in the solo piano guidebook, you need to learn how to comp for yourself using these zones, because that's what's going to help you. Okay? So is everyone clear on zone 1? It's very easy. Right hand rootless voicings. It can be any voicing, right? So it really can be any voicing, but the rootless voicings are the best way to start there. If you do not know how to use your rootless voicings, or you do not know your rootless voicings, and you can't comp through a tune just using your rootless voicings and left-hand bass notes, that's exactly what you're going to write down in your guidebook under page 4, execution. I will work on goal and step. So you're going to put goal number 1, comping step number 1, or you can put zone number 1. Right? So that means you have to practice your rootless voicings a lot and left-hand bass notes. Practice those in exercises, right? Go through your 2-5-1s. Isolate each chord quality. Like play all your minors. Play in half steps. Right? All the way up. Play in whole steps. And then for your dominance, same thing. Majors. Right? You want to work on your rootless voicings because that's going to allow you to accomplish that goal. You don't need your upper structure triads over your shells, up here. That piece of education does not equate to you accomplishing your goal that you've put down. This is the biggest point of these goal planning sessions I want you to know. By learning my upper structure triads up here, right? Or learning drop 2s, learning some sort of Barry Harris passing movements, that does not relate to your goal at all, right? Do you get what I'm saying? So yeah, those are fun, but they're not helping you make progress. And so much of what a student spends time doing is playing and practicing things that have no relation to their goal whatsoever. Right? And this is why we really feel like we just gather materials over and over and over, and we can never actually play anything we want to, right? Nancy, I'll go over the drop 2s in a second when we get to zone 3. Mr. Mason Gray. In zone 1, our left-hand bass note's always just the root. Bass note implies more than one note. Just the root. Yes, just the root, Mr. Mason Gray. If we're playing in a band, all we want to use is the root. It's completely okay to play the root. I recommend it for the bass with a bass player because they're going to be moving all about. If I were to walk bass with another bass player, that's going to be a big no-no. But when I'm comping in my bands and my trios and things like that, definitely in this lower area, I'm using this root because it's going to solidify my voicing. Let's say, for example, I just play this and the bass player plays an E flat. That's going to sound to the band like I'm playing an E flat major 7. And so if I play the C and he plays the E flat, we now have the sound of a C minor 7 chord. That's why it's really good for pianists to actually put the roots in there. Just don't walk bass on your left hand while the bass player is walking bass. That'll be very distracting. Okay? Cool. Got it. So we're doing well here. Yes, George says isolating rootless voicing is a real problem. You can do it in the 2-5-1. Yeah, just practice and reps, George. Just lots and lots of practice. So we now have established that for 2 goals, if you have a goal of playing solo piano, style B and style C. If your goal is style B and style C, then you're going to need comping zone 1. You're going to need that tool. Does that make sense? Right? I really want to get this clear. If your goal is solo piano ballad style A on page 3 of the guidebook, again, jazzpianoschool.com/2025 guide, https:// and then the link. Okay, if your goal is cocktail style solo piano ballads, you do not need zone 1. You do not need zone 1. What you will need is zone 2. Zone 2. Now, I know this doesn't say it here, but that's why I'm working through this. Okay? So this is going to really filter out and cipher a lot of wasted time focusing on elements in your jazz piano practice you do not need. Now, luckily, Jazz Piano School has all of the practice exercises and elements you could need to accomplish your goals. So if you need help working through all of them, that's what I'm here for, right? That's what my education's here for. So let's go on to zone 2. Zone 2 is going to be for comping, right? I use all the different zones in a lot of different ways. I use my zone 2 for ballads a lot, though. For ballads specifically, a lot. Now, I also use zone 2 for style B and C in solo piano, meaning for slow swing and medium fast. Okay, but let's just talk about the ballad, for example. Or let me talk about the voicing, for example, first. So what happens in zone 2 now? If I play zone 1, for example, I have my rootless voicing and a bass note, right? In zone 2, the only change that's happening is we're adding one note to our left hand. That's it. Now, there's a couple ways we can start to make this a little fancier. I'll talk about that in a second. But really, okay, zone 1 is going from a rootless voicing with a bass note to zone 2. We're moving up the piano a little bit more. We have a little bit more range here in the low to mid area of the piano, more around middle C, right? And we're adding one note, the 7 or the 10, right? Or the 3rd, you can call it. Not everyone can reach the 10th. That's okay. You can do this. Just jump. 1 and, right? So if I were to go through a 2-5-1, I might go 2. Here's my 7, rootless voicing. 5, you can also play 1 and 3. That's okay. You don't always need 1 and 10. And then 1 and 7, right? Okay, just like that. So we're creating two-handed voicings now in the mid to low area of the piano. Two-handed voicings. We still had two-handed voicings by definition before, but I don't really consider these two-handed voicings because you just have a bass note in your left hand. These are really true two-handed voicings because we have both hands working kind of together. We have 1 and 7 moving to 1 and 3, or 1 and 10 moving to 1 and 7, right? So that's what I'm going to use here for my ballads. For example, in the tune But Beautiful, right off the bat, I'm creating a two-handed voicing with my G major 7 in the melody. You'll notice I'm not just playing one bass note, I'm playing 1 and 7 here. I could do that, just play a bass note. But when the melody's up high like this, we really want to strive to create two-handed voicings to fill in the space of the piano. Right? Two-handed voicing. 1, 7, rootless voicing, right? You see that? So now, again, the main goal here isn't to teach you what to play on ballads. It's not really to teach you how to play your ballads. The main goal of the planning session right now is to teach you what tools you need to get you to your goal the fastest in 2025, right? You see that? So if your goal is cocktail-style ballads, you don't need zone 1 comping. Do not spend time on your zone 1 comping, right? Now, I know you might have lots and lots of goals, for sure, totally. I get it. But this is about planning and utilization of your time. So what I want you guys to do now, because zone 3 and 4, you actually don't need for any of the goals. You really don't need zone 3 and zone 4 at all. So that's a great thing for everyone. So if you have a goal of comping, let's say in a band, you can learn zone 1 and zone 2, right? I would start with zone 1. So in the execution page 4, for everyone that has a goal of comping, go ahead and write down what comping zone, write down the goal and the step that you need to start to work on to accomplish that goal, right? So it could be zone 1, or it could be zone 1 and zone 2. So if your goal is to comp, like in a band or play with musicians, because again, these are the goals that people come to me with. These are the 3 most coveted goals by jazz piano students. That's why I have them broken down by these goals, right? 1, 2, goal 1 is comping. People, Brendan, I want to play in a band. Okay, great. Here's what you do. Brendan, I want to play solo piano. Great. Here's what you do. Brendan, I want to learn how to improvise. Great. Here's what you do, right? Everything else falls within those goals, okay? So if your goal is comping in a band, put down your goal in the step you want to work on for the what quarter, right? These are, for quarter one. This is for quarter one. We can always switch our goal at quarter two, but I always recommend spending at least 3 months for that particular goal. Spend at least 3 months, okay? No more, no less. You can always reassess at the end of the quarter, all right? Now, if your goal is number 2, okay, solo piano. This is for solo piano. Now, here where we get into a little choose your own adventure. This is great. I love this. Anyone read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or did the Choose Your Own Adventure books where it's like skip to page 55 if you want to see Marty jump off the cliff and dive after it's like, okay, yeah, I want to learn about that. So this is the same thing here, right? If your goal is solo piano cocktail style ballads, okay, I'm just talking about comping today. I'm not talking about the steps under the solo piano, right? We'll get to those in the next session. But one of your goals should be to learn zone 2. Zone 2. Zone 2 is the only comping zone you need to play cocktail style ballads, as I just demonstrated. These are 2-hand comping voicings, just like the planning guide says. It says rootless voicings, right? Right hand rootless voicings, left hand 1 and 7, 1 and 3, or 1 and 10. That's exactly what I'm playing right now. I'm playing a rootless voicing with left hand 1 and 7. Here's another iteration. This is a rootless voicing, 1, 10, 7, doubling the third, and then the melody, right? Right hand rootless voicing, left hand 1 and 7. So that's the tool set, that's the skill set that you need to play cocktail style ballads. It's one of them, right? We got to work through the steps too. I'll show you how to do that. But that's one of the tool sets we need to know how to do. So your comping is drastically involved in your solo piano performance. Now, if you're more interested in style B, slow swing, or style C, medium and fast swing solo piano tunes, okay? You really don't need that much of zone 2. I'd recommend waiting on that. Do you need it? Yes. But zone 1 is much more important for slow swing and medium and fast swing. Why? It's because that's what we're using to fill in the gaps between the melody. Just friends. Comp. We're comping for ourselves in the gaps. And that's why we need zone 1 to jump our right hand down. Right? We're using zone 1 to comp for ourselves when playing slow swing and medium swing. So that's the tool set. That's the skill set you need if your goal is style B or C. Now here's the catch. Don't pick all of them, right? Don't try to do all of them for quarter 1. Pick one solo piano style and one comping that you need. So if you pick solo piano ballads, fantastic. Put down that you need zone 2 for your ballads. If you want to practice slow swing solo piano style, if that's your goal, solo piano slow swing, put down comping zone 1. Right? Does that make sense? So now what we're doing is we're narrowing down the skill set we need to very, very microscopic, meticulous tools that help us get 80% of the way to our goal very, very fast. Instead of going on YouTube and watching all these different videos on so much material that has no relation. It allows us to make no progress towards our actual goal of what we need, right? And I don't blame you. Students don't know what they need to get to their goal. So a lot of times we just go onto YouTube or the internet, or we join membership websites and we just browse all the videos. Oh, I think I want to learn this today. I think I want to learn that today. Ooh, it's Friday. I'm going to dive into some transcriptions today. You never gain traction with that method. With that strategy, you really get nowhere, because you're learning so many different things, okay? Is the last demo of Zone 2 the same as 5-note style voicings? Let's talk about voicings for a second, based on what Susanna asked. Another really heavy misconception about voicings. So
5-note style voicings can be any 5 notes that have the 3rd and the 7th in them. So if students, like Susanna said, is this last demo of Zone 2 the same as a 5-note style voicing? So I would argue, Susanna, I don't know what a 5-note style voicing is. You know, I'm not sure if you mean a specific voicing when you say that. And I love teaching students about this stuff because I think it's super helpful to understand how harmony and theory works on the piano, especially with all of these notes in front of us, right? So any voicing I want to play as a solo pianist has to have really only 3 notes in it. That's it. The bass note and the 2 shells. So if I want to reflect the sound of an A minor 7, all I need is the bass note and the 2 shells, and I've got an A minor 7. I don't need the 5th. I don't need anything else, right? So any other notes I add to this are really just going to be additional notes, right? And that's the fun part. That's where we get into colors and extensions and things like that. But if I want to play 5 notes in my right hand, I certainly can now. At this point, I can add them on. Why would I do that? Well, if I want a thicker texture, right, I'll probably play 5 notes in my right hand. So let's add 1 note at a time. And I'm just talking about my right hand now. So this would be a 2-note voicing, technically, I think, if people want to call it that, in my right hand. It's not really a 2-note voicing. I'm playing a 4-note voicing here because I have 4 voices split between each hand. But let's just talk about my right hand. I have 3 notes here. I have 4 notes, and then I'm going to use my index finger my 4th finger to add a 5th note. Right? Got it. I see what you're saying. Your reference is super helpful. Yes, in the Bill Evans 4-note style, technically adding on, right, the 5th and then an extension, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's technically, yes, a 5-note voicing. So yes. So in the last demo of Zone 2, it's not the same as the 5-note style voicings. Zone 2, the way that I'm teaching Zone 2 is always rootless voicings in your right hand and a combination of 2 notes in your left hand. 1 and 7, 1 and 3. I can't do it in this case, but 1 and 3 here, or 1 and 10, or 1 and 3. Right, and then so that's always my Zone 2. That's a different example of the Bill Evans thing that Dr. Joe Gilman's teaching in that particular reference. Okay, so that's separate. That's a whole separate thing. That's what you're talking about there is what I'm going to get into in the solo piano planning session a little bit further. So I'll talk about that in the solo piano planning session. But if I do 5 notes here in my right hand, right? Let's say I do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have 1 and 7. This is a great voicing. And then I can use my last finger here, my 4th finger. I actually have a 6-note voicing in my right hand and 1 and 7 here. And I can continue to fill this thing up, right? I can continue to use more notes in my left hand if I really want to, if I want a thicker texture. Right? So at this point, it's less about the voicing, like mechanics or like theory. It's just like, do I want to add more notes to make this voicing thicker, right? And so that's a very heavy misconception because people call they say, oh, 3-note voicings or 4-note voicings because you've gone on the internet and you've learned a type of 3-note voicings where a teacher will say, these are your 3-note voicings. Well, technically, there is no set combination of a 3-note voicing. Like a 3-note voicing could be this, or it could be this, or it could be this, or this, right? A 3-note voicing can be anything. As long as you have the shells in there with your voicing, really, all you need is those 2 shells, and then another note would make it a 3-note voicing. So if I'm playing an A minor 7 and I play the 2 shells, I can really add on any other note, and that will be a 3-note voicing. But again, the internet can be highly, highly confusing as a teacher. The teacher marks the voicing that they're teaching you as a 3-note voicing, and then you start to think, okay, these are 3-note voicings, where that's not technically true, right? Same with 4-note voicings, 5-note voicings. So I'm just trying to clarify a couple things here. Let's move on, though.
So hopefully if you've all, write down all this stuff, write down your goal and what you need for the different styles of your solo piano. Okay? Now let me talk about zone 3. Okay, I'm going to move on to zone 3, right? Let's talk about drop 2s for a second. Before I get into zone 3, which is going to be in the upper side of the piano up here, this is a lot of what Wynton Kelly, Red Garland, Bill Evans are playing. Right, those are all drop 2s, okay? You hear that a lot from Bill. You hear that a lot from Wynton Kelly, Red Garland. Let's talk about the drop 2 in zone 2 for a second, because I want to show you how easy this gets to create your drop 2s in a lot of different ways. So, from zone 2, sorry, one second. Okay. From zone 2, I have 1, 7, 3, 5, 7, 9. I am doubling the 7th right now. See that? In both my hands. So I'm doubling the 7th. I don't need both the 7ths, right? I don't need both the 7ths. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove my 3rd finger from the equation of my right hand. I'm going to remove or just lift up my 3rd finger from my right hand. This note right here, right? So I'm going to remove that. I've just created a drop 2, okay, with a bass note. Drop 2s can take a lot of variations, right? So I've just created a drop 2 by removing my 3rd finger. Now, the reason for that is because drop 2s by definition means you're taking the second voice, the second note from the top of your voicing. The top of your voicing is always the highest note that you're playing. So in this case, A is 1, F is 2, D is 3, B flat is 4, F is 5, G is 6. You count down, right? So what a drop 2 means is that you're taking the second voicing from the top and you're dropping it down an octave, okay? Now, I already have that note here in my left hand. I already have it there. So technically, all I need to do is not play this note, and that's giving us the sound and the appearance that I've dropped it down to my left hand, whereas I didn't even have to do anything because it was already there. Now, it was already there because of this setup I taught you in zone 2. This is one of my reasons and philosophies for teaching zone 2 like this, because you can easily create drop 2 voicing simply by removing a note. Okay, if I taught you zone 2 like this without your left-hand thumb, then technically you'd have to remove your 3rd finger and then play this note. That can be very confusing, right? This is why I really love my drop 2 system of learning your voicings and comping in these different zones. So here's your drop 2. Again, in this case, the 3rds are doubled here and here. So all I'm going to do is remove my 3rd finger again. I've created a drop 2 sound here. My 7th is doubled here, so I'm going to remove my 3rd finger. So really all I have to do is keep my 3rd finger up through the entire time, right? So then, again, more in depth, it would sound like this. Those are all drop 2s, right? If I pull up iRoll Pro and I comp through Our Love Is Here to Stay again, using zone 2, all drop 2s, this is what it's going to sound like if my iReal Pro ever comes up. Our Love Is Here to Stay is what I did, right? Yeah, that was the one I did last time. Okay. So what this is going to sound like with all drop 2s in zone 2, it's going to be a really, really fun sound, right? Here we go. So on and so forth, okay? Nice, really golden jazz sound. There's a lot I'm leaving out, but essentially that's what that's going to sound like, okay? So zone 2 can be worked in, I should say not worked, but leveled up. It can be leveled up into a drop 2 format, but don't start there, clearly, right? You want to start with your basics, okay? Now, what is going to happen when we move into zone 3 for our comping. And again, by the way, zone 2, guys, that's what I use for my ballads. Here's a nice, beautiful rendition of a drop 2 over But Beautiful. Right, here's a drop 2 setup for that very first chord of But Beautiful. I can do a drop 2 here. I can do another drop 2 here. I do like filling this note though, just for a little bit of balance actually. So drop 2s without roots is a bit more challenging to learn. Yes, Bruce, exactly. So let's get into that. Your drop 2s now, excuse me, I shouldn't be clearing my throat right into the mic. I apologize about that. Let's talk about zone 3 now. Your drop 2s for zone 3, here's what they are used for. Always ask yourself, when you go on the internet or even my website, hopefully I explain what the tools are used for. Just don't go in blindly learning stuff, right? There's so much information out there. Like, don't go in blindly learning some sort of gospel movement or a funk thing or an improv lick without knowing why you're learning it. What's the purpose of you using your hard-earned time that you're never, ever, ever going to get back in this lifetime, right? Time is the most valuable commodity that we have. Why are you learning what you're learning? Don't just go in blindly thinking that because a teacher's teaching you something, that's what you need to learn, right? You're going to be using up all this precious golden time of yours, right? So your drop 2s, yes, they're super cool. They're super fun. Everyone wants to learn them. They're all around the internet, right? Every student from here to, wherever all around the world wants to learn their drop 2s. For some reason, the internet has given a famous stigma to drop 2s. I don't know why. Like, people think they're going to sound like Bill Evans for some reason, or if they learn their drop 2s or something else. Here is the deal. Okay, I'm going to demystify this for you. I'm probably going to crush a lot of your hopes and dreams. The only reason that I need my drop 2s up here in this upper format to play stuff like this is really, if I'm comping in a band. If I'm comping in a band, that's the majority of time that I'm going to play drop 2s. So, sorry to say this, everyone, but if you're not comping in a band, this should be probably one of the last items on the totem pole for you to learn. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to strip the fun out of learning jazz piano, right? I always agree you should take breaks, go after like that shiny pearl that you want just because it's fun, but always come back. Like, come back to what you need, right? Not what you want, okay? We don't always get what we want, but we get what we need, right? Anyone know that song? So always come back to what you need, because it's what you need that's going to help you make progress the faster, and that's going to make you ultimately happy in the long run. The short-term fulfillment can come from kind of sidetracking and learning these drop 2s, but again, the only reason I would use my drop 2s up in this region here is for comping in a band or high-level solo piano fills. High-level advanced solo piano fills, right? If I go just friends, I might do a string of drop 2s up here. So to fill that space. Sorry. So I'm jumping up to comp with that stuff. But again, so Bruce, I might send you back spiraling into starting to learn your drop 2s by demonstrating that. But again, this little comping fill right here, it's like 1% of the equation. Like, if you can't just play through the tune, just like this. through the tune like that without fancy fills, then you really have no, I forget the word of the phrase. You have like, you don't need to learn those fancy drop two fills. And like, I barely use those. I mean, like once in a while I might do some drop twos up there, but I don't use them in solo piano hardly ever. So in the grand scheme of things, if you're trying to learn solo piano for any style, like if you go to the guidebook right now for all three styles, style A, style B, and style C, you just don't need zone 3. Like it's rare that I come across a student. There's one student in my mastermind where I'm like, okay, yes, you're ready for drop 3s because that's where you're at now. But that's like 1 out of 1,000. Like it's very rare that I come across a student where I'm like, yes, this is the type of information you need to learn right now because this is going to help you. This is what you need in the moment. You've got everything else. 1 out of 1,000, right? So you just don't need that. So I would encourage you in 2025, just try not to spend time on stuff you just don't need. Sure, if you need a little break, totally, I get it. Okay, we all need breaks. We all need to just go learn some fun stuff. But maybe take a week or just like dabble for a day or 15, 20 minutes, an hour maybe, and then come back to focusing, right? And you really can't scatter your focus. Like don't try to do it every day. Maybe take one day out of the week and make that the fun day, fun Thursday or something like that. And the rest of the days, make it all based on your focus, okay? Zone number 4, same thing goes with this, okay? I don't need this a lot. Oops, sorry, I'm not on the piano. I just don't need that. Okay, that's all for band comping, right? It might sound cool. It's so funny because I had a student say like, hey, I want to learn how to play that high stuff. And I was like, well, are you playing in a band? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, that's the only time that you would ever need to really use that is if you're playing in a group or a trio with a bass player and a drummer. That's really it. If you're not playing in a group, that particular texture in jazz piano, you just don't need, right? But let's say you are. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. The things that are happening here is my left hand now has my rootless voicings, okay? So my left hand has my rootless voicings. I didn't really talk about zone 3, to be honest. Let me jump back to zone 3. So zone 3 is what we're doing here is we're taking zone 2 and we're taking the root away. So I'm taking zone 2, right? So let's say I take this voicing. Here's my zone 2, drop 2. And I'm putting it up an octave, first of all, and I'm getting rid of the root. So I have rootless drop 2s. These are drop 2s with the root. Here's a drop 2 without the root. So here's a G minor drop 2. Here's a C7 flat 9 drop 2. Here's an F major 7 drop 2. Here's a D7 altered drop 2. Oh, this note is sticking on me. D7 altered drop 2, right? G minor drop 2. C7 drop 2. Flat 13. Drop 2s. These are all rootless drop 2s. That's zone 3 right there, right? Now in zone 4, what's happening here? There's a really, really, really important thing about zone 4, which is my left hand now has rootless voicings, okay? So here's the catch. If one of your goals is improvisation, I know we're not on that session yet, but this step is going to be really important for all of you out there that have goals of learning improvisation this year, right? So if one of your goals is improvisation, this particular zone is very, very, very useful for the improvisation goal. Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, not so much. I'd argue even at all. If your goal is improv, don't even touch those comping zones. Comping Zone 4, if your goal is improv this year or for one of the quarters, absolutely. Work on Zone 4. You know why? Because your left hand is playing all rootless voicings. You need your left hand for improvisation. Now Now, again, I need to specify what type of improvisation. I didn't do that. I apologize. So if you're playing in a band, right, this is the improv style or setup you need, where your left hand is playing rootless voicings. If you're improvising in a solo piano way, you're not doing that, right? You don't need zone 4 solo piano because your left hand has to do everything down low in the bottom of the piano. Left hand has to be super strong to improv. In a band, I'm not playing that way. My left hand is playing rootless voicings up here, while my right hand plays improv. Right, so my right hand's improvising, my left hand's playing rootless voicings. That's the trio. That's the band setup of improv. So when you go to learn improv, you have to say to yourself, what type of improv do I want to learn? Am I trying to have the goal of improvising in a band? A lot of my students do. They play in music studio groups, combos, teacher-led combos weekly. That's the style they have to work on with the left-hand rootless voicings and right-hand improv. Are you playing at home and improvising in a solo piano way? That the other way is the way you have to improv. Okay, so back to my point in general. Zone 4 octaves up here. This can be used for comping or improv. So zone 4 would be really used both scenarios just for band style play. Band style play. So if you want to use that texture in a band style, or you're looking to improve your improvisation in a band style way, that's the goal you need. That's the zone you need. Okay? Woo! It's Friday, everyone. I'm feeling good. The weekend. My wife and I always go to the farmer's market. It's very peaceful Saturday morning. I love it. Work hard during the week. We pick out food to cook, get a cappuccino. So, hope you guys are enjoying this. Let me go through the zones again. So again, have the guide pulled up. I'm going to reiterate what you need for what goal, okay? And then I'm going to let you guys go. I'm probably going to head over to the Apple store. I have to upgrade my equipment. It's about that time. Zone number one, comping zone number 1. If your goal is solo piano, style B or C, if your goal is solo piano, style B or C, for any of the quarters, you're going to need zone 1. So I would add it to the list. Write it down in your execution portion of the plan, okay? No problem, Alan. If your goal is to play in a band as well, in some regards, right? If you just want to play in a band ever, or that's your goal this year, to get better at comping in a band, you need zone 1, okay? That's what zone 1 is for. So add that to your execution list, however it applies to your own goals this year. Zone number 2. If you're playing solo piano style ballads, if your goal this year is solo piano cocktail style ballads, add zone 2 to your execution list. All right? Also, if your goal is to just improve your comping, again, in a band setting, add zone 2 to your execution list. If you're playing and comping in a band regularly, add zone 2. Zone 3, comping, really should only be written down by the students watching this if you've really mastered zone 1 and zone 2, and you really want to up your playing to the next level for your comping, just comping in a band, put zone 3 down. If your goal is solo piano, I don't think anyone should write down zone 3 if you just have a goal of solo piano. It's not necessary. Unless you send me a solo piano video and I am floored and I'm like, oh, whew, the only thing you're missing right now is some drop 2 fills, then I will tell you to write down zone 3. But until that point, you don't need it for solo piano at all, okay? Finally, zone 4. If you're playing in a band, again, this is a great texture to learn on playing in a band in the ways that for the zones, actually, if you are playing in a band consistently and you want to improve your comping, I would learn zone 1, zone 2, zone 4, and then finally add zone 3 in. I'll say that one more time. If you're playing in a band regularly and I'm trying to improve your comping, I would learn zone 1, zone 2, zone 4, and then zone 3 last, okay? If your goal is improvisation, right? In a band setting. If your goal is improvisation in a band setting, zone 4 is going to be applicable to that goal. If your goal is solo piano, no relation there. You do not need zone 4 for any of the solo piano components, okay? And obviously, if you're playing in a band, zone 4, like I just said, 1, 2, 4, 3. And finally, just to leave you with one more thing that I just thought of while I was teaching you, all of the zones have levels to the voicing language that I'm using. So just because I'm telling you to use rootless voicings down here in zone 1 with bass notes doesn't mean I'm not at some level combining a lot of other elements, reharm elements, like flat 9s, sharp 9s, sharp 11s, flat 13s, sus chords, tritones, movements, right? So I'm starting with simplicity here to teach you that you can just comp like this. But honestly, in zone 1, here is more of what it might sound like. That's all zone 1. So each zone can be taken to a super high threshold. After you've mastered the basics, you can start to layer in other more advanced things, reharms, combinations of different extensions, movements, passing movements, but it's all for zone 1, meaning I was mostly just playing all voicings in my right hand, bass notes here, and different types of voicings in my right hand. Sus, 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 resolution, sus, resolution, tritone, 1. That's all zone 1 because, again, by definition, my definition of zone 1 is left hand bass notes, right hand voicings of any kind, coupled with reharms, movements, and all fancy stuff, right? Now, everyone, just so you know, this is the Jazz Piano School method of learning, right? You won't find this anywhere else. I've created these systems. I've created these philosophies. I've created these strategies, okay? They're all in my courses, especially my new course, The Proficient Jazz Pianist. All the comping information you see here that I'm talking about right now is available on sale. That can be purchased at https://jazzpianoschool.com/holiday. Click on the Proficient Jazz Pianist and you'll get access to the course literally on comping, working through all the zones with practice videos, exercises, teaching, all that good stuff, right? Solo piano is going to come out, and then my improvisation is going to come out for the Proficient Jazz Pianist. And then obviously you got a lot of other courses, but all my philosophies, all my teaching strategies are now available on sale actually for the New Year's sale. And I do have one more spot in my mastermind open. John, thanks so much. Alan, thanks so much. Glad you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoy your Friday. This will be available for replay on the podcast and on the YouTube channel. Go to YouTube.com/Jazz Piano School to check out YouTube. George says, I noticed you are mainly using 3579 rootless voicings. Yeah, I mean, most voicings, George, will be based off of your rootless voicings, right? So, I might play a voicing like, I don't know, this, into this, into this. But for different styles and things like that, I change it up, right? I'll change it up. So like just for a bop style, your rootless voicings are really all you need, but it's the extension combinations. That's really all you need. You don't need thicker voicings. The thicker voicings with lots of notes are more for a modern style, different types of reharms. So just for the demonstrations, I think that I'm giving to y'all, George, and everyone here, the rootless voicings work fine. But you can change your voicings depending upon any type of sound that you want for each zone, to fit that. So, all right, everyone, have a great time. Don't forget to go get the guide, jazzpianoschool.com /2025 guide. No problem. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Noel. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. Internal methods. These are mainly shells on the bottom. I'm not saying it's bad, but drop voicings are taught differently. Oh, I missed that comment. I won't tackle that right now. All right, guys. So the next session is, actually, I don't know, to be honest with you, but I emailed it out. And so essentially, if you go to, or if you got the email from today, that will be on the schedule there. And so that's when the next session will be. It will be on solo piano, planning for your solo piano, and again, what you need and what you don't need. Thanks, John. And then the improvisation session will be last as well, on what you need for improvisation, what you don't need, and how to really go through the steps and work on tool sets. Again, super, super applicable to what you're trying to learn to reach your goal the fastest, right? Because there's so much information out there. It's about how to filter through the information, all of the information on the internet, and really get down to the tools and components that are going to help move the needle forward so that you can honestly accomplish your goal in much less time, very, very fast. Okay? Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.